Hello, everyone. Now, as you know, Michael Jordan fans are the worst sports fans of all time. And one of the many reasons why is because these people like to use Michael Jordan's NBA regular season MVP awards to rank him as the number one NBA player of all time. Now, I am going to explain to you why this is ridiculous. Here are the reasons why, in no particular order. First, they are disrespecting all of the other NBA people. Next, they are dismissing all of the other NBA people. Next, when they claim to respect the game and then they disrespect the game, they are contradicting themselves. Next, when they claim to love the game and then they dismiss the game, they are contradicting themselves. Next, Michael Jordan fans have a history of always trying to find a way to make Michael Jordan the number one NBA player of all time. So that right there shows you that they're not reliable. Next, understand why Michael Jordan fans are saying this. It's because they're just trying to find a way to make Michael Jordan the number one NBA player of all time. So that right there shows you that they're not reliable. Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the players that Michael Jordan played with don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the players that Michael Jordan played against don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the owners, general managers, coaches, and other NBA people that Michael Jordan played for don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of NBA Hall of Famers, lots of NBA legends, lots of NBA scouts, and lots of NBA experts don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that Michael Jordan doesn't agree with them? Next, since lots of these people don't agree with them, why do Michael Jordan fans sometimes reference one or more of these people for one or more topics? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that usually the only people who think this are Michael Jordan fans? Next, if this was the other way around and they were an NBA Hall of Famer or some other NBA person and they found out that there was a younger NBA fan who wasn't there when they played, who doesn't have that much tape of them, who isn't an expert on the past NBA and so on, and they found out that this younger NBA fan said this thing, they wouldn't agree with that fan. Next, if some non-Michael Jordan fan said this thing and it went against Michael Jordan, the Michael Jordan fans wouldn't agree with that non-Michael Jordan fan. Next, Michael Jordan fans have a contradiction. They always ask people who disagree with them if they were there when Michael Jordan played, if they went to his games, if they saw his games live on TV, and so on. And yet, they don't ask themselves these same type of questions when it comes to lots of other NBA Hall of Famers. If they did, they would know that it would go against them, and they wouldn't come to this kind of conclusion. Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other NBA players? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other players who played other sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other people and some other things when it comes to other things outside of sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to who they rank as the number 2 NBA player of all time and the number 3 NBA player of all time and the number 4 NBA player of all time and so on? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to who they rank as the number 1 player and the number 2 player and the number 3 player and so on when it comes to other sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to the number 1 person or the number 1 thing or the number 2 person or the number 2 thing or the number 3 person or the number 3 thing and so on when it comes to other things outside of sports? Next, Michael Jordan fans are putting other NBA players in a lose-lose situation. If another NBA player has one or more NBA regular season MVP awards, they will dismiss it. If another NBA player doesn't have one or more NBA regular season MVP awards, they will hold it against them. Next, an NBA player can dominate this game, be above average, be average, or anything else, whether they have 0 NBA regular season MVP awards, or 1 NBA regular season MVP awards, or more than 1 NBA regular season MVP awards. Next, I want you to think about something logical. Is it logical to assume that an NBA player needs one or more NBA regular season MVP awards to be the number one NBA player of all time?
Next. In the past, usually NBA fans didn't use the MVP award to rank players. Next. Usually they didn't pick one guy over another guy, partly based on the MVP awards. For example, usually NBA fans didn't explain that Larry Bird was better than Magic Johnson, partly because of the MVP awards. Next. And this applies to some of the other sports that are in America. For example, usually baseball fans didn't rank Stan Musial better than Hank Aaron, partly because of the regular season MVP award. Next. Now, I don't know who started using this award to rank one player over another. I am guessing it was Michael Jordan fans, but I am not sure. In any case, even if it wasn't Michael Jordan fans, they are the ones who were really into using this award to rank one player over another player. Next. And they have now influenced others to use this award as part of the reason of why one player is better than another player. Next. The award wasn't always around for everyone that was in the NBA. Next. The way the award was voted wasn't always the same. Next. If you go by this award, that means any player who has more awards than another player is a better player. Next. The best player doesn't always get the award. Next. There have been some disputes about some of the players who won. Next. Michael Jordan doesn't have the most NBA MVP awards, so if you go by this award to rank NBA players and he doesn't have the most, then how is he the number one player of all time? Next. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has more NBA MVP awards than Michael Jordan. Next. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has the most NBA MVP awards out of all the NBA players. Next. So is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar a better player than Michael Jordan? Next. And is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the number one NBA player of all time? Next. Bill Russell and Michael Jordan are tied for second place when it comes to players with the most NBA MVP awards. They both have 5. So if you go by the MVP awards to rank players, are Bill Russell and Michael Jordan the second best players of all time? Will you rank Bill Russell on the same level as Michael Jordan? Next. Michael Jordan didn't always win the award, so if you're going to use this award, then you should not have Michael Jordan as the number one player every season. Next. If you think the reason Michael Jordan didn't always win was because the voters weren't always reliable, then why are you relying on the voters? When people vote, they are voting on whatever they want to go on. For example, some people vote based on how many wins the team has, or they might vote for someone they like, or someone they want to be closer to, or someone they want to interview with. They might not vote for someone because they feel like the guy has already won so much and they want to vote for another player. They may vote for someone because they think most of the experts will vote for him. They may vote for someone because they are worried they will get criticized if they vote for someone else. They may vote for someone because they are worried about losing their job or not going up in their job if they don't vote for the guy. They may come up with their own random criteria that is not reliable. They might vote for a guy because they know the NBA prefers that guy, the advertisers prefer that guy, the fans prefer that guy, and the player prefers to win it. There's probably more examples, but you get the point. Next. Players have different positions, so how do you know who is the number one player of them all? Next. Some players sacrifice their game, so they won't win the MVP award. Next. Some of you Michael Jordan fans explain that the most important thing for a player is winning. So if a player sacrifices his game to help the team win, then they won't win the MVP award. So why would you rank that player lower than another player who won the MVP award? Your point was that winning is the most important thing, so it's a contradiction. Next. Michael Jordan won the MVP award when he didn't win the NBA Finals. So if you think winning is the most important thing, then you shouldn't use the MVP award when Michael Jordan didn't win the NBA Finals. If you do, you are contradicting yourself. Next. If you're going to use the MVP award for the regular season, and you're going to use the NBA Finals MVP award, why not use the award for the Player of the Month, and the Player of the Week, and the Player of the Game, and the All-Star Game? Why not have an MVP award for the Player of the Conference, and the Player of the Division, and the MVP of the first round of the playoffs, and the MVP of the second round of the playoffs, and the third round? Next. Even if you go by some of these awards, how are you going to figure out which player is better based on the awards? Are you going to go by the total number of awards? That wouldn't make sense. Are you going to rank all the awards on the same level? That wouldn't make sense. Are you going to decide which awards are better than other awards? That would make sense. Next. And what if one player has an award more than another player, and the other player has an award more than that player? So for example, suppose one NBA player has more regular season MVP awards than another player does, but the other player has more NBA Finals MVP awards than that player does. Or another example, suppose one player has more MVP awards for the division than another player, but the other player has more MVP awards for the first round of the playoffs than the other player. Next. What about the ABA MVP awards? You should include those. If you include both those awards, how do you know who is the MVP of both of them? There is one award for the ABA and there is one award for the NBA. Next. Let's test your analytical skills. For example, you think Michael Jordan should have won the MVP every season? If your answer is yes, that means you think no one ever had a better season than him, including Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. If your answer is no, that means you know he wasn't the best player every season. So how is he then the number one player of all time? Another example, Kobe Bryant has one NBA MVP award. So does that mean Kobe Bryant was the best player in the NBA for one season? Another example, Steve Nash won the NBA MVP award twice. So do you think Steve Nash was the best player in the league when he won it twice? Another example, Jerry West never won the NBA MVP award. Dirk Nowitzki has won the NBA MVP award. So does that mean Dirk Nowitzki was a better player than Jerry West? There are more examples, but you get the point. Hey, please subscribe, and if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.